All right. Today we are very, very lucky to have my good friend Deborah joining us for this live interview session. How many of you guys are excited? All right, awesome. So Deborah, can you share with us a little bit more about yourself?
All right. Hey, okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you loud and
Okay,
clear.
awesome. Cool. Thanks, John. Thanks so much for having me on this episode. So my name is Deborah. So basically, I'm the co-founder of Hipvan, which is an online furniture platform. So I am currently now sort of doing strategic projects with Lazada and Redmart. And so on the side, I also like mentor and coach companies to actually help take them to the next level. My specialty is sort of like working with traditional companies to see how they can actually digitize, transform, and sort of grow. Yeah. So yeah.
Awesome. Super excited. I think today's main topic is we want to learn from you, right? How to actually scale e-commerce business, because I think you have so much experience scaling up an e-commerce business that I think a lot of our audience here, they will really, really benefit from it. So actually, I'm just very, very curious, right? Growing up, do you see yourself as an entrepreneur? Or is it because of certain experience, then you decided that, maybe the entrepreneur route is more suitable for me?
Okay, so I think growing up, I have always been a little bit of a rebel that's stuck in a very, strict parent
I can totally understand.
family, you know what I mean?
Yes.
So, but I think throughout I've seen how my mother, like, she's working. She works for a company, right? And I've
Yeah.
seen how she actually has to work so hard to actually bring home money to support the family and all this kind of thing. But my father has also been a great influence in shaping how I actually view the difference between working for someone versus actually starting up your own thing. Because
Yeah, wow.
because for him, he did try some few things on the side while when he was retired, but he never really had the confidence or willingness to sort of, quit his full-time job when he was working to do it. But I could see that it's something that he really, really wanted to do. But, in that day and
Yeah.
age, it was more of a lot of opportunity cost, and the fear of failure in that sense then was
Yes.
really, really very, very different from now, right? It was really
Yes.
like, if you fail, you're like, oh my God, you're a terrible failure, blah, 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 right?
Yeah.
So he sort of, when I was young, so he took me on some of his business meetings and adventures. So I thought that was really, really cool.
Wow.
And yeah, so basically from young, I know that I always wanted to do my own thing. Yeah, so along the way, I still work for people,
Yeah.
just to sort of gain more knowledge and see how I can apply this, to my own venture in the future. Yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So can you tell us a little bit more about like Hipvan? How did you get started? Because I'm sure that is one of the biggest brand that a lot of Singaporeans they actually know about this brand. How do you like started this brand? What gives you that inspiration?
Okay, so it was quite funny. So I would say, like, four of us started Hipvan. I met my other three co-founders we were working for Rocket Internet.
Wow.
For those
Okay.
of you that don't know Rocket Internet, basically it's a German venture incubator. They were the ones that started, the Zaloras, the Food Pandas, the
Yeah.
Lazada.
Yeah.
And that's where they are right now, right? So anyway, so we were working for them in their different ventures. I was working for the furniture venture that was in Singapore then. And my other co-founders were working for Zalora, right? So we met and sort of decided, let's come out and do our own thing, because we were then at the age. Sounds so long ago. Okay, anyway, we were then at the age where, like, a lot of our peers were either getting married or, moving out to set up their own, like, bachelor or bachelorette pad. And we thought, it's so inconvenient to actually get furniture in Singapore, right? You either have like IKEA,
Yeah.
or you have like you have to go to all the different stores, maybe Arrow Street or Tan Boon Yat building, one by one, maybe like Tai Seng if you're very adventurous, but the design's not very there. Right? So it's quite a hassle, right? And especially if
Yeah.
you're at that age, you're already quite busy. You're trying to settle your wedding or blah, 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 and you don't have time to do all these things. And we felt that, overseas buying furniture online was already quite common in that sense. I mean, obviously by virtue of the fact that the overseas countries are quite big, and you kind of like just travel to 30 minutes to a store and then just bring back your furniture. So
Yeah.
anyway, that's quite common. And also then something that inspired us was like fab.com. Not sure if you guys remember it. It's quite something in the past, but they were also .com that sort of focus a lot on good designs. So we
Okay.
thought we wanted to marry the two, right? And basically bring designs to everyday living.
Yeah.
Give you the functionality, the great aesthetics, and also without burning a hole in your pocket, plus the added convenience of being able to shop for your homeware anytime, anywhere. So that
Okay.
was how we thought it would be a great idea to actually bring this to the market, because furniture is a pretty traditional industry, and we
Yeah.
were pretty early in the market. So anyway, that was the reason why we thought of Hipvan. Yeah.
Okay. Did it cost you a lot of money, like when you started out, or like straight away when you had that concept, you already start raising funds? How do you like really get started from this concept?
Okay, so I think this is the misconception a lot of people have when it comes to building their own company, that you either need a lot of capital or you need to get investment right from the beginning. So from the start, actually, we four of us pitched in a small sum of money, I would say.
Mm,
I would say it's 4 digits, a reasonable 4 digits, okay?
mm.
We put that together, and we basically had in mind we wanted to get funding, right? So
Yeah.
that was our objective from the start. So when we started the business, we had very, very clear KPIs of what we wanted to do to be able to meet this, so that we can actually bring these statistics to the, the people that we wanted to raise money from. Yeah.
Yeah. So I also understand that you build up a retail store for Hipvan, right? So did it help to actually contribute to the customer experience?
Yes, it definitely did. But I would say that that was like a phase 2 or 3 of our business. I think we started actually going offline 2 or 3 years after we actually started. The reason was then, we felt that we did a lot of digital marketing efforts already,
Mm,
because we were selling furniture online, right? And in our society, you
yeah.
guys know, there are a certain group of people that really like sofa, I
Yes.
must touch and
Mustache.
see. Yeah.
Yes,
You
exactly.
say soft, right? I must go and touch.
Yes,
Yeah,
mustache the
that
material.
kind. Exactly. So we felt like, okay, we've already like penetrated as much as we could already online. So now is the chance to sort of go offline and see how we can convert these people.
I see.
And that's why we ventured offline, to basically try to convert the people that were hesitant, so that when they go down there, they can basically get first-hand experience to like, okay, this is kind of like a legit store where
Yeah.
like if you tell me it's 1.2 meters, it's 1.2 meters, or if it's
Yes.
soft, it's
Yes.
soft, right?
Yeah.
So then, basically we're trying to hook them that way, because if you get your first purchase offline, you kind of get, lazy, right? Because that's how people are. So then it's like, okay, I'm comfortable with this brand. I trust, that their products are like this and like that. So then maybe they can then go online after that for their second, third, fourth, fifth purchase. So that was the intention for setting up the offline store. So it's really online to offline and back to online again. Yeah.
Oh, super interesting. I think you managed to raise the funds before you actually open your retail store. Am I right?
Yes, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, retail
Okay.
is quite a different ballgame.
It's quite a different ballgame, right? So I'm
Yeah.
just curious, right? Like at the phase 1 of your business, right? Because you don't have a retail store, was it very difficult for you to build that kind of trust and to penetrate the market?
Yes, I would say so. But I think that is a common problem with every business, right?
Yeah.
Be it you're selling something unique or whether you're selling something common, because there's always competition out there,
Yeah.
either from a more famous brand, an institutional brand, or even like maybe a cheaper alternative. So
Mm.
you always need to hit the objective of creating trust and a good customer experience with the customer. Yeah. So for us, because like I mentioned, for furniture, you actually need a lot of convincing in that sense, because it's
Yeah.
a very experiential product, so, to say the least, right?
Yes.
So we really made sure to go above and beyond to make sure that our product descriptions, stuff that you can actually find, or questions that you might actually have, is all answered beforehand. You wouldn't leave the product page without wondering like, oh, actually, is this small, or is it this big, or what, blah, blah, blah. We tried as best as possible to give everything upfront without creating doubts in the customer's mind. Yeah.
Wow, I love it. I love it. So when you started, do you penetrate just focusing on like the B2C, or do you like work with B2B, like the designers and people like that?
When we started, we were very focused on B2C.
Okay.
because that was our gameplay. Because you must have B2C for us, okay? We thought we wanted to have the mass market first before we can go out to designers to make it an easier sell for the designers as well, right? Yeah. So it's more about, hey, we're gonna bring in this household name that is known for good design, great value, into your home versus like, hey, this ABC company that's like, I don't know what brand. Like, is the ID actually giving me a better deal or worse deal, right? In that sense.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So from what I understand, because I've been doing e-commerce for quite a while, right? I understand that actually because you are actually shipping furniture, is actually very, very heavy, and logistic cost is always an issue. Can you share with us like what are some of the best practices we can actually apply in terms of logistics, how to save costs? What are some of the tips and advice that you can actually give to our audience?
Okay, so for logistics, like what you rightly pointed out, right? There's actually the main difference is in terms of the type of products that you ship. Either the size or if there's like temperature control, special handling basically. And for furniture and home furnishings, there's actually the entire range, right? You have like cushion covers that you can wrap, and it basically becomes like fashion products that you can put in a small PU bag, right? Or the full 5-seater, 4-seater sofa, or the table, blah blah blah. So in terms of logistics, how I would approach it would be basically to understand how you actually can structure your warehouse properly, and basically the entire flow from inbound to outbound, so that there's a very, very clear demarcation, physical demarcation within the warehouse itself, so that you wouldn't mess things up, especially when goods are so big, because then if you're talking about physical space where you're actually managing the products yourself, it can be quite messy. Let's say in the evening time when people are loading products or bringing it in, or even in the morning when sometimes your suppliers are delivering goods, and then your guys need to pack the vans to actually bring it out. So I would say streamlining the processes and having a very clear idea of how things are supposed to move, both in the systems and also physically in the warehouse, would actually allow you to manage your logistics costs and scale up better lah. Very broadly lah, very general.
I think a lot of value. No, but I'm just curious, right? From the start, you actually engage a third party like a provider, or you straight away have a warehouse and an in-house logistics team to actually manage all your logistics?
Okay, so when we started, we worked with two types of delivery models, right? So one was the small items, because we had a lot of small items, and then the second one was basically we worked on drop shipment model, which is not the drop shipment that we know, right, in e-com in that sense. The drop shipment that I'm talking about is basically having the seller, the brand that we work with that sells on our platform to deliver it directly, because we don't have the white glove deliveries. So we say, like, for example, you're buying from XYZ furniture brand from Hipvan, but then they will arrange the delivery. So that was how we started out in the first place, because we don't have the manpower, we don't have the structure, we don't have the knowledge. But moving forward, we then work with, we decided we actually need to have the knowledge to actually build it up. And of course, then we were at a bigger scale, etc. So we developed, so basically I grew the operations team and the transportation fleet and all as well. So basically we worked and created our own fleet. We got the in-house knowledge how to even handle the furniture. Then only could we then outsource it back again by having like a subcontractor, in a sense, where we can then train. So in a sense, like we train the people that can handle the furniture. So it's more scalable in that sense.
Yeah, definitely. Wow, amazing. A lot of good tips over here. So tell us more about your customer service. I know that you are huge on customer service and customer satisfaction. So how do you really measure like your customer happiness?
Oh, that's an awesome question. Okay, so I would say customer happiness, the best measurement in that sense is really word of mouth, right? Having them write you organic reviews, even on your posts or whenever you just shout out anything on your social media, for example, is the best way, because you're not paying them for it, right? You're not telling them like, hey, get a $5 voucher and say something. Them being able to share this in the comfort of their own home now, especially, right? Like when people are stuck at home, nowhere to go, cannot eat out. They either like, okay, I have to go to my friend's house maybe. And then they're like, hey, your sofa looks quite nice, right? Where do you get it from? And then if the person says, yes, Hipvan or whatever, it's quite comfortable, quite convenient. Exactly, that is the best measurement. So how do we actually know that? We also do conduct like NPS customer surveys for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the monitoring, like how people actually write into us in terms of managing the CS replies in, gives us a great indication of what we are. Because I think you also share with your own students, right? Knowing data in e-commerce is super critical.
Super critical, yes.
Yeah. So having the CS inquiries is not about just knowing how fast they turn around, right? It's also knowing like the inquiries that come in. What are the problems that you're solving? Are you repeating the same answers all the time, kind of thing? So if they're asking you, I want a refund, I want to return bad stuff like that, it's a very, very different ballgame as well. So that's how we measure how comfortable our customers are with our products, either through the pre-buy inquiries and also through the post-buy inquiries.
Okay, awesome, awesome. So I'm just curious in terms of like when you say you actually set up like the retail store, right? What are some of the challenges that you face when you actually set up your retail experience or retail store?
Oh, so it's a funny story, right? Because like
Yeah,
all of us have zero retail
exactly.
experience.
Yeah, so I'm very
Yeah.
curious about it.
So maybe maybe I worked as a sales girl before, like in my previous life, like to get some pocket money kind. So
Uh,
in like the few months is like retail experience. But anyway, so the first retail store we had was essentially at Millennial Walk. That was very fun
okay.
because it was just a small unit, but it was quite affordable rental because Millennial is quite empty in
Yeah,
that
yeah,
sense, right?
yeah.
Yeah. So we tried that, and it was a learning experience to say the least. Yeah. So
Okay.
a lot of mistakes along the way, so but we figured it out, and we came to the understanding that I would approach physical retail or e-commerce the same way as I would approach physical retail, in the sense that you're looking at it like visual merchandising framework, right?
Hmm.
So it's like if you go to cold storage and you are walking through the aisles, like the Milo packets on promotion that's at eye level, it's not by chance one. It's not
Yeah, yeah,
just
yeah.
happen to drop
Premium,
there.
premium. Premium
Exactly.
slot. Yeah.
Exactly. So it's the same as like how you would see things on your first page, right? The first full of
Hmm.
your e-commerce site, and how your products will stuff like that.
But do you track your retail sales and your online sales separately? Because like I know the retail game, they actually measure like based on footfall, the traffic, things like that. Do you measure it separately, or it's like a whole experience? How do you go about it?
Okay, so at the start we didn't measure it differently
Mhm.
because we weren't so sophisticated like that, right? Anyway, we don't have that many sales from offline lah. Anyway, don't take offline sales. But as we had the experience store, the flagship store previously at Cafe, that was when we actually had terminals there, and we also were giving some voucher codes and all. We were trying to see if we can track either by the voucher code or the IP address or the purchases at the store itself lah.
Mm.
Sometimes our sales staff would actually have some special code that will key in as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even though it's offline, for us, it's not about venturing just going to offline. It's still very much of the part of the online DNA. We want to make sure that this very, very expensive offline adventure, for sure,
Mhm.
is worthwhile and is actually meeting the objectives that we want for the business. So
Wow.
that's purposeful. So we need to collect the data as well. Yeah.
Wow, I love it. Everything is about data. It
Yeah.
actually really helps in the decision making, right?
Yes.
So also tell us more about your fundraising process. Like how long did it take for you to close one round? What are some of the challenges that you face?
I think it depends on the round. I would say like the rounds nowadays is more, it's just labels in that sense, right? You can
Mhm.
close many, many different tranches in that sense before that, but it's not really considered a round, or they can all add up into one bigger round in that sense. So I would say for the different episodes that we had, bigger buckets that we raised funds from, the time period actually ranged quite a few, because when we started, it was more about getting like angel investors, etc. And then
Yeah,
the next round was obviously getting a higher value. Um,
institutional funds.
exactly, and that would be like different conversations or multiple conversations, etc. Yeah.
Okay. So what are some of the things that we need to look out for when we raise funds for our e-commerce business? Can you give our audience some tips?
I would say I mean, okay, so I think you need to focus on your business
Mm-hmm.
first and foremost when you're raising funds, because what they are most interested in is actually the fundamentals of your business.
Yeah.
It's not so much how much showmanship you have at the table.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe in the past there was like a bubble where you just need to
The
show
fluff.
scale, exactly,
Yeah.
where there's zero profitability kind of thing. But I think now that era is completely over in that sense. People really want to know, is this business worthwhile investing, or are you going to be something like, always in the red kind of thing, even if we invest in it? So I would say knowing your business inside out, knowing the key metrics, and being able to show that you are not working just on the business itself, but looking forward. What's the future? How are you working for now for the future? And I think that's the most important thing actually, when you actually bring your pitch to the investors, because that's what they want to see.
Wow, very, very critical. So you actually enter this business with a mindset that you want to be profitable since day one, right?
Yep.
Exactly. I think that's a correct mindset, lah. Right. So lastly, right, can I ask you, what advice will you give to like aspiring entrepreneur? There are some audience here that they just started their e-commerce business. What advice will you give them, or even give to your younger self?
I would say, don't be afraid. I think you should just do it. If you have that in mind, you should do it sooner rather than later. Because there's always a huge opportunity cost that comes if you do it later. But if you go in, you make sure you give it your all. Don't do it half-assed, because there's no point in doing it if you're gonna not sure. And also make sure that when you are starting your own business, I think the most important thing is the customer experience. I'll still say that. It's very easy to get sucked into the business side of things, right? And then your mindset just completely changes. Like, oh, I don't have money to do this, I'm not going to do this. But then you forget to think about, on the flip side, it actually destroys the customer experience in that sense. So there's a balance that needs to be measured, needs to be maintained. And I would say that would be the biggest advice, because either way, if you don't look after the customer in that sense, there's no growth, or there's no scale to your business anyway. Yeah.
Wow, thank you, Deborah. I learned so much from you. I hope you guys enjoyed the show today, right? So if you like to follow Deborah, right, I'll actually put the link below. You can actually follow her on Instagram. All right. So for those of you watching it, I hope that you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. See you guys. Bye.